What up? Welcome, welcome. Uh, I wanted to talk about something today that affects me on the daily, and the only solution I know how to do is just talk about what I believe and ideas. Um, every day, okay, just want to make sure everything's going good. Um, okay, here we go. Every day, I get on the internet. Um, there is like a constant slew of YouTube videos, articles written all over the place about how racist white people are. And white people are this one big continuous group, even though white people are from all over the world: French, Germany, Switzerland, Central America, South America. Every continent has white people that are all different, ethnically diverse. And just the fact that they could say white people is very racist on its own for the reasons that I just said. If you got to go around pointing out how all other groups are this one big continuous, everyone has to agree and think the same, well, then you're probably being racist. Um, when I hear this, a bunch of things run through my head. A bunch of things from history that I've learned, a bunch of things from my life experiences. And since it's not going to stop, I want to say the things that I know that, really refute their arguments. So I'm just going to dig in here, start off with the definition of racism. Definition of racism. This is from dictionary.com. Noun one, a belief or doctrine that inherent differences among the various human racial groups determine cultural or individual achievement, usually involving the idea that one's own race is superior and has the right to dominate others, or that a particular racial group is inferior to the others. Two, a political system of government, etc., based upon or fostering such a doctrine, discrimination. Three, hatred or intolerance of another race or other races. All right, there we have it. So basically, um, the idea that you think your race or ethnicity is superior to others and others are inferior. A political system based on fostering a doctrine that others aren't inferior and you are superior. And hatred or intolerance of another race. So, I want to point out a few things about history that really um, show that we're all both capable of racism and indeed are racist. So maybe it is so. All white people are racist, whether they're French, German, Swedish, Colombian, doesn't matter. Maybe it is true. They're all racist. They hate their own countrymen. They hate everyone around them. But if that statement is true, which just for the sake of this argument, I'll grant, because they say an intelligent person can deal with an idea that he doesn't necessarily hold. So wouldn't then all other races be racist, including against their own creeds and religious sects and all that sort of thing? And one of the first things that comes to mind is when I was growing up, I was raised with a lot of Southeast Asian people from Laos, Thailand, Cambodia. Some of the greatest people I ever met. I love them. And in their culture, there was a group of people known as the Hmong, Hmong, Hmong. And they used to tell me stories about the Hmong people. And I couldn't believe what they told me. Older, I looked into it more and more. But basically, every country around the Hmong people shit on the Hmong people. They weren't allowed to even have, even though they had their own culture, their own religion, their own writing, it was made illegal in almost everywhere that the Hmong people went. Their writing, their religion, all the way from China to Southeast Asia. They were oppressed and held down so hardcore, yo. I wanted to just show you a little bit. Here's what Hmong people look like. Just Asians. They weren't allowed to have language, written books in their language, yet people commonly referred to them as stupid. Now, if you don't allow a person to go to school, does that make them stupid? In my opinion, that makes them ignorant. Ignorance is different than stupidity in that stupidity is the inability to learn, and ignorance is not knowing something. So we're all ignorant of tons of things. Being ignorant of something is not the same thing as being stupid. Being called ignorant of something isn't really even an insult. It just means that you don't yet know something. I mean, our teachers could call us ignorant every single day, right? Because they know more than us in that subject, right? So there's nothing wrong with that per se, although that word is abused and not used properly, but I'm not trying to argue the merits of that word. No matter where these Hmong people from, they're usually seriously shit upon, yo. Look at this. They actually turned their name into barbarian to mean that nomenclature. I had a thing here. Let's see here. Give me one moment, please. Okay, there is evidence to suggest that they've occupied, even some parts of China for the past 2,000 years. Yet it seems to be only within like last 100 years that these people were seriously shit on. Before I move on, I want to say that the Human Genome Project, who mapped the DNA code originally, as far as I know, determined that there are no races of humans that are currently alive. We all are from the same genus Homo. We're all a bunch of homos. And there is more difference between even the same ethnic groups in DNA than there is between what we call races: white, black, brown, yellow, red. Um, for instance, you take a population of Chinese, and they determine that there's more genetic difference between one Chinese person to another Chinese person than there is between Chinese people and white people, or Chinese people and black people, or pick and choose any color. I could go through here and I could read all the insanity, but I basically touched upon what I needed to, I feel like. So I'm gonna move on. I don't know how many have heard the story of it's commonly referred to now as the rape of Nanking. It's well, I'll just read it. The Nanking Massacre was an episode of mass murder and mass rape committed by Japanese troops against the residents of Nanjing, then spelled Nanking, then the capital of the Republic of China during the Second Sino-Japanese War. Sino. The massacre occurred over a period of 6 weeks, starting on December 3rd, 37, or December 13th, 1937, on the day the Japanese captured Nanjing. During this period, soldiers of the Imperial Army murdered Chinese civilians and disarmed combatants who numbered an estimated 40,000 to over 300,000 and perpetrated widespread rape and looting. They thought that the Chinese were inferior to them, and they wanted to show their superiority. Not only, did they rape hundreds of thousands, but they murdered hundreds of thousands. And look at that, over a period of 6 weeks. Do you think that and this continued for a long time, and the Japanese were really big into this sort of imperialism and racial superiority back in the day. They had closed off their borders for a few hundred years, and they thought that they were superior. They made better steel. They had better swords than the whole rest of the world put together, technology-wise, at the time. I mean, the only ones that could compete was, as far as I know, in India, they made Damascus steel, which is basically what the Japanese used. And but anyway, they closed off their borders. Meanwhile, China invented gunpowder in the search for immortality in alchemy, and they used it to decorate the sky for fireworks. Well, we figured out a maybe more sinister use for it, and it's changed the world. But meanwhile, here they are thinking they're superior, and we invented guns, cannons. Racial differences do not make differences of ideological differences. You're actually more likely to get a contiguous idea because they're taught a certain way, at least by country and culture. Now, you couldn't take all Asians, obviously, because I'm talking about the differences between Chinese and Japanese. And let me go ahead and throw up an invite real quick. You guys can go ahead and see this. I'm gonna get Rican up on here. He just texted me. He wants to join. So all right. So they clearly thought they were superior. The Japanese did this in Korea later. where I've heard some really brutal stories, man. I heard that they didn't want to waste bullets, so they lined them all up, all the Koreans, and I sent you an invite. And they cut off their heads with giant pairs of scissors so that they wouldn't have to waste bullets. Not only that, but they butchered their own people. I heard stories. I think it was World War One or two, and Japanese, even their own. I believe it was the island of Okinawa. They were renowned for being extremely poor. Most of the martial arts we hear coming out of Japan, being a lifetime martial art enthusiast. I know that a lot of the Japanese martial arts, most of the ones that we hear about, come right out of Okinawa. But during that time, they were poor, shit upon island of Japan, and they did horrible things to their own people. I heard of them cutting off the Okinawans' arms without anesthesia and trying to put other people's arms on each other. They were doing all sorts of human experiments without anesthesia while they're perfectly alert and awake. It breaks my heart, the atrocities that mankind can do to mankind. And it doesn't matter what race, what color, what ethnicity we are. I could talk for a long time just about the Japanese. They have some astounding
What's up, brother?
what's up, brother? Examples.
What are those?
Um, but I feel as though I've made my point, and I'm going to move on from the Japanese.
So what you talking about, brother?
What's that?
I just woke up, saw you was on. I was like, I could join. You want to give me a teaching lesson? What you talking about? It says racism.
Yep. It's just about racism, and I wanted to go through some historical facts and point out a few things. I just covered the rape of Nanking. I don't know if you heard that.
No, rape of man king.
Of Nanking, yeah, Japan invaded the capital of China back in 1937 and raped and murdered over 300,000 people over 6 weeks.
Damn.
Yeah, man, and they were just butchering them, and it was just a slaughter, and they call it now the rape of Nanking, and
That's
it's
horrible,
just
man.
it's awful, and I'm just pointing out that racism is the idea that your race or ethnicity is superior and that others are inferior.
True.
And I'm going through historical accounts of people who clearly thought they were superior and others were inferior.
Right.
And it doesn't matter that they were technically the same race, right?
Yeah, that never mattered.
Right. It never matters. Well, until you talk about today for whatever reason.
Right.
So
What
I'm gonna
other?
move on to the next.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Islam. I could show countless examples of supposed moderate Muslims holding up signs, Islam will dominate the world. Behead those who insult Islam.
I remember that video. Even that dude said he was going to get rid of Israel too. Also, right?
Oh my God. Nobody hates the Jews more than Islam, more than Muslims. They're taught to hate the Jews. I mean, Muhammad made it very clear his opinion of the Jews, right?
Right.
This is no secret, even though they try to pretend like they don't understand. I love how when Muslims come into a country, they go, there's racism on the rise. The rise of anti-Semitism, which means anti-Jewish, is on the rise. And they say it as if it's not the Muslims themselves that are doing that. You know,
Right.
like all the people who were there didn't give a shit that the Jews were there.
Right.
But when Muslims flood into a country, all of a sudden the rise of anti-Semitism and racism, and then they try to blame that on whoever the inhabitants of that country is. But it's like, nah, you don't get to do that shit, yo.
Right.
You don't get to be the only ones racist almost. I mean, there's only two groups that I know of really that really hate the fucking Jews. They are like skinheads and KKK and shit. They hate the Jews, man.
Yeah.
And Muslims. Muslims hate Jews. Everyone knows. So it's like, you know, it's
I feel like Muslims hate Jews more than actual KKK.
Oh, they do. They do, because the KKK aren't killing Jews. Muslims kill Jews.
They're just standing by that shit.
They fucking murder them. So yeah, that's a big fucking difference.
I wonder what our history books is gonna be like in the future when we go through this shit and talk about the deaths that Islam caused and all that, and then like our kids are asking why the fuck we didn't do nothing about it sooner.
Because we were called racist if we talked against it. That's the whole point of this broadcast. That's the whole reason I'm doing this, is to address that point. The reason that most people won't do anything is because they're afraid of being branded a racist. I don't like being called a racist, but I started out this video with every day I look at any news, I watch YouTube videos, and I'm constantly accused of, because I'm white, I'm racist, you know? And that's fine, as long as if we're gonna be just broad stroke covering people, well then everyone is going to then be accountable, and that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going through and I'm showing how every race, no one is above this. The only difference is that white people currently aren't murdering anyone. That's the only fucking difference. And if you ask me, that's a huge fucking difference. Like, we're called racists for saying, like, why is it openly okay to hate on us? And we're the only ones. Meanwhile, we're the only ones being shit upon, really. I mean, look, I want to stop racism. I want equality for everyone, but you can't just accuse somebody of racism and not point out any examples. Here, I'm accusing all these motherfuckers of racism, and I'm pointing out tons of examples.
Right.
So all I'm saying is, that's fine. If you're going to label people like that, I'm not afraid of that label, you know, because I'm going to say whatever the fuck I want. People can like it or not, but if they're going to disagree, they better have an argument, because just disagreeing is not the same thing as an argument. It's not the same thing as an idea.
Sure, you could disagree all you want, but if you want to actually have a conversation, but you get some facts.
So, Muslims are taught. There's tons of tweets on Twitter and stuff, because they'll gladly host, you know, ISIS and Muslim Brotherhood and all these extremist groups. And the Black Lives Matter supremacy groups and all this and that. But there are countless tweets that talk about how they say in all these European countries, they tell the Muslims and all the migrants and shit that are there to not target anyone who isn't white, specifically white girls, to rape.
Damn.
And, you know, imagine if a whole bunch of white people forced their way into their country and then started raping only their women. I mean, and then openly talk about it. How is that not racist as fuck?
I don't understand how feminists could support this type group.
It's unfucking, yeah, feminists of all people, right? Feminists of all people. But I wanted to read this passage here. Islamic rape epidemic. There is a rape epidemic in Europe, and it is linked directly to the influx of Muslim migrants who are not compatible with Western culture, especially when it comes to their attitudes towards women, young girls, and sex. Nevertheless, European politicians and American mainstream media are refusing to acknowledge the obvious for reasons of political correctness. Islamic migrants are waging a real jihad on women in Europe, and government officials are collaborating. This is a story about rape, massive amounts of sexual assaults, mutilation of feminine genitals, and it is all beginning to tear Europe apart. Most of the people who have never experienced this kind of violence do not pay much attention, but it is a hard subject.
Mutilation? What's the...
Oh, yeah. Well, Christianity and Judaism, they circumcise males. Well, in Islam, they circumcise females.
What?
Yeah, you could call it a what do they call it? Clitorectomy or whatever. They remove the clit and part of the labia.
Damn.
Yeah.
Motherfucker's weird.
Yeah, man, it's so fucked up, dog. And feminists support this kind of bullshit. They say, "Oh, it's just a different culture." Yeah, it's just a barbaric fucking shit, dog.
Right.
It's not.
That's some shit you should not be fucking with.
Yeah, you don't just be like, "Oh, it's just barbarism." What do you mean? Just. They murder, they rape, they cut people up, dog.
This is like saying that's just rape.
Yeah, it ain't just nothing. That's fucked up, yo. Despite the clear evidence that the immigration and refugee policies of the West are leading to a rise in sexual violence, pathetic politicians continue to bury their heads in the sand while repeating platitudes about being compassionate and generous. Governments are increasingly making themselves into hated institutions. The most disgusting things European governments are doing gets their women raped. In the new Europe, Europeans matter far less than the migrants do. And for that, most present European politicians should be forced into permanent retirement or worse. For many years, Sweden, for example, has been possible to cover up the rapes, partly because the Swedish media chose to call the perpetrators youth gangs and never mention that they were usually immigrants from Muslim countries. It was recently reported that 100% of rapes in Oslo, Norway, were perpetrated by non-European migrants.
100%.
100%. But yet they say, they basically the media and the government says it's the people that live there. Now, we have a thing, no taxation without representation, right?
Right.
So what do we do? See, if our politicians wanted to let in a bunch of motherfuckers that want to rape us, our children, our wives and daughters, fuck those motherfuckers.
Hell yeah. Again,
you know what I'm saying? Their fucking job is to represent us. You don't get to go, like Hillary Clinton wanted to do. I'll just let a whole bunch of people in that want to do this bullshit. America spoke. Not in America, motherfucker.
True that,
because we ain't gonna fucking stand there and let these fucking dumbass gangs go around and tell us
raping our women
do,
and shit. Hell no.
Search our pockets, molest our children. They rape a whole bunch of little boys and little girls at pools and bathrooms and shit. That's one of the things they do. When the parents aren't paying attention and you're at a restaurant and your child goes to the bathroom, they follow the child in there and they fucking rape them.
Bro, it should be a sport hunting these motherfuckers, bro.
Hunting down any piece of shit that acts like that. You know what? If that was my son, dog, I would have a fucking eagle eye. And guess what? That motherfucker would never make it out of that bathroom.
Hell no.
He would be a permanent part of that motherfucking bathroom, dog.
Fuck yes.
Any which way I gotta do it. I will rub his fucking brains into the bathroom floor so they will remain there. You ain't gonna scrub that shit out, dog. I don't give a fuck, dog. That shit ain't happening in America. There's a gun behind every fucking leaf here.
For real.
We ain't no little hoes well, I don't want to say that they're hoes, but, they don't have the choice to protect themselves in the way that we do.
True.
But it's this political correctness bullshit and lies through politicians.
I just don't understand why we're covering their ass.
And through the media. What?
I don't understand why we're covering their ass.
It's not us, man. It's politicians and media. Like Hillary
Clinton.
Like
them. I'm not saying us. I'm saying like the people that represent us.
Their asses, right?
Right.
Her top secretary chick, she's quoted as saying, like, if I had a daughter, it would be this chick. Her name, I forget what her name is. She's her family's tied to like Muslim Brotherhood, and she's Hillary Clinton's top bitch, yo.
Damn.
Yeah, man. Anyone can look that shit up. And this bitch has all sorts of ties. And of course, Hillary Clinton's gonna say, terrorism has nothing to do with Islam whatsoever. Of course, she's going to fucking say that. She's in bed with those motherfuckers. But that's the whole problem, is the politicians.
Wasn't Obama covering his ass too?
What?
Wasn't Obama covering their ass too?
Yes. Obama's done nothing but toe their fucking line. I mean, he's put people with war crimes against them in positions of being like ambassadors and shit, dog.
Damn.
You know, people who have done atrocities in the world, and usually for Islam, actually only for Islam as far as I know. And he puts these motherfuckers in all sorts of positions. Yeah, man, they've been doing this for so long, you know. That's why the swing has gone back towards the right now. I mean, fuck, dude. You know, if they don't like Trump being elected, then maybe they shouldn't have pushed this shit so fucking far and deny reality. We share reality.
Obama told the media that if he would have ran again, he would have had a good chance. I mean, he thought that he would have won.
Yeah, right. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Not this time, man. People have lost all faith in Obama, dog.
Because he didn't really really do what he fucking said. He did some good things.
He ran on hope and change, and what hope did he bring? Our country is now divided more than ever.
True.
I mean, like, racism and shit wasn't an issue. People weren't such fucking pussies 10 years ago. Call me crazy. But they weren't. People weren't bitching about microaggressions, dog. Safe spaces? From what? There is no violence. People's opinions. The whole thing against racism is really kind of stupid because, you know, like, I've been shit on my whole life for being white dude in an ethnically diverse town and all this kind of bullshit. Dress the way I dress, talk the way I talk. You know, racism's always been around. You didn't see me crying about it.
Right.
I just fucking deal with it. Everyone deals with it. You're going to come across people that don't like you, and they're too stupid to not even have a reason. Right?
Yeah. Right.
And don't be such a fucking pussy. It doesn't do anything to your fucking life. People hate you every day. Most people on this earth are completely ambiguous to your existence. Or I don't know. I'm sorry. Maybe there might not be. They don't give a fuck about us in one way or the other.
Oh, yeah.
And so you can call it whatever the fuck you want, but you can't expect everyone to cross your path to just give you automatic respect, automatic this and that. No, nobody gets that. In this world, we all have to earn everything that we fucking have.
Oh, yeah.
There's no exceptions. What's that?
Every little thing.
Every little thing. And nobody's exempt. You know, no one's exempt. I've had lots of racism done to me. Big fucking deal. What did it do?
Yeah, true.
What the fuck did it do to me? Really? What the fuck did it do? They called me white boy and I just moved the fuck on. True. Right? Yeah, sure, I might be upset for a minute or two. But you move the fuck on. You can't expect everyone to like you. Eventually, if they get to know me, maybe they won't call me white boy. That's all you can hope for.
That's the big thing too. It's just like it's not really going to really do anything unless the dude is actually abusing you, coming up to you and try to bully you or something like that. Then that's a different fucking case. Then you handle your business. But it's just words at the end of the day. But I just hate that, you see, even though I'm not fully white, people get mad because I look white, I guess. People just take white racism, not as far as, you know, black racism or Hispanic racism. They take that more serious than white racism. I just don't understand why. Like, I don't feel like we're a double standard or something like that.
How so?
Like, for example, like what you always say in a way, you know, if I were to call you white boy, or if I were to just dump on you because you're white, that's not going to get attention. If you say my Puerto Rican flag is something, or, you know, or my color is something, you know, you'll probably get shit on. We'll probably get the most views we've ever had and ever, you know?
Yeah, you're right.
That's what the double standard thing, I feel like.
Double standard. It's a double standard in which we can have murder, rape. They can openly talk about genocide towards white people, and that's all fine. But an errant comment, or sometimes just a look in the wrong way, gets more attention, and people are accused of being these monsters. But yet, people, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, how can those two things be equated, right? It's like equating bullets and marshmallows. The shit don't make no fucking sense. Like, the one person wants to kill you and openly talks about it. The other person just might not like you, and you don't even know why.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly where I was going. That's a perfect segue into this. This is a Black Lives Matter co-founder. She was one of the two people that founded Black Lives Matter. I've talked about this before, but I've never shown it, so here I'm showing it. And she talks all the time about killing all white people, especially
just
openly.
Openly. Oh, she tweeted
all the time.
It. Oh,
yeah, it's on. This is what I'm telling you. It's on Twitter. I mean, this is a well-known thing to anyone who gives a fuck about looking, and that's perfectly fine. This is how you know Black Lives Matter is a supremacy group, right?
Right.
For equality, and don't talk about killing off all the other people who aren't them.
Dumb. It's just so fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. Here they call all white people racists, never have an example of the racism to point to where white people can be like, yeah, we want to stop, because guess what? I'm white. I want to stop racism too. But you must point to who or what law or what business is racist in order to stop it. But they never have examples. It's always just this nebulous, somebody was racist once upon a time.
And now everybody's racist.
Yeah, and because of that, everyone is inherently racist and guilty for whatever happened in the past. And I'm trying to show right here that everyone's past has massive dirt, okay?
For real. And not only thing, like the point that I made in the last podcast, none of like for example, my generation should not be upset about things that happen like that. We didn't even go through it. Like, that's like saying someone that was born today in 3 years, he's not going to feel upset about 9/11 because he didn't fucking go through it, you know?
Right.
So why the fuck should you be so butthurt? And
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, you're fine. What'd you say?
Please finish.
Oh, like I forgot.
Okay. Fuck it. I was just gonna say, I remember exactly where I was when the towers got hit. I remember watching the video and in complete disbelief, you know.
Really?
And I was like your age, like
I don't remember. My uncle, my dad, he bought a little tool thing for my uncle, and when I looked in there one day, my uncle actually had the newspapers from New York about the Twin Towers.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was from New York. If it's not from New York, then I'm wrong. But it was the actual Twin Towers. From New York. Yeah.
FYI, they're from. Your family's from New York, so I think it's especially meaningful to your family.
True.
And guess what? We're expected to take in Syrian refugees. Guess how many American refugees Syria took or whatever after this? 0. Guess how much they tried to help rebuild?
0.
Yeah. Guess what they tried to do, though? They tried to build a mosque on ground zero.
The fuck?
Yeah. They tried to build a mosque on the exact spot where the towers were hit.
What?
Fuck you.
That's actually documented?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, dog. Talk about fucked up, right? Talk about adding insult to injury, so to speak.
Yeah, you just spit in the face.
Yeah. They don't give a fuck about us. They feel like we're at war. We don't give a fuck about you. But yet we're supposed to give a fuck about everything that happens to them during war. Well, guess what? I don't give a fuck no more. I don't. It's impossible to be at war and have people, and even how do you draw the line between innocent? lit up like a fucking predator vision. You know, we don't. There's no way of looking and determining what people are good people and bad people by how they're dressed or the color of their skin. That's the whole point of this. So the idea that during war we're supposed to eliminate, and see, that's what Hillary Clinton was doing before she was doing bombing raids of the people we're at war with, so as to not hurt any innocent civilians. They were giving the information that they were going to bomb to the people that they were bombing. Therefore, the people would evacuate everyone, including all the bad people, and it was totally ineffectual, but yet costing us millions and millions of dollars.
It's fucking stupid.
Fucking stupid. You know what? You can't do that. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be at war and expect people not to die, and innocent people die every fucking day. That's what all this shit I'm showing you is. So, oh God.
It's fucking dumb.
Fucking stupid, yo. I think I covered this one. The Korean, I'm pretty sure that we fought the Korean War to liberate. This was like in 50, I think 1950 or something like that.
Did we end up backing out of that fucking war?
What's that?
I can't hear nothing. Oh, okay. Now I hear you. What's up?
I didn't hear your question.
Oh, didn't we back up? I mean, back away from that Korean War? Didn't we lose it?
You know, I'm not 100% on how it ended, but I know we definitely fought there. And
okay, I'm
pretty sure we fought to liberate the Koreans from an incredibly oppressive occupation by the Japanese. And they, as far as I know, they just continually raped all the women, continually slaughtered all the men. I think I touched upon this earlier, but I've heard about insanely atrocious things. Like they were, you know, they didn't want to spare bullets. Oh, this is what I was just talking about right when you started, and it kind of threw me off. But they lined up people and they didn't want to waste bullets on them, so they would test swords or get huge pairs of scissors and cut their heads off with them. And that way,
so they're too petty enough for bullets, so they go a little grimy.
Yeah, they didn't want to waste a penny apiece on a bullet. It wasn't worth their lives, so they had to come up with creative ways to kill them.
That's another fucking part of evil, man. That's a
forced labor camps until they died. I mean, it's just awful.
Sounds like a fucking movie.
Yeah. A lot of people, when we're talking about race and racism, or even you could talk about 15 other subjects, and this dude will come up, man, Mahatma Gandhi. And everyone talks about him like he's a fucking saint, man.
Hell yeah, I was always taught he was a peaceful protester.
Yeah, we hear Gandhi and we think, oh wow, must be awesome, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll just read little parts of this. Mahatma Gandhi has been variously described as an anti-colonial protester, a religious thinker, a pragmatist, a radical who used nonviolence effectively to fight for causes, a canny politician, and a whimsical Hindu patriarch. He campaigned for the rights of Indian people in South Africa. I've talked about this a little bit in the podcast, but his people, Indians, were hired in South Africa to build the cities and towns, all that, as laborers. And a lot of times they basically all but slave labor. And black people were forced alongside of them, right? Mahatma Gandhi wanted to free his people and his people only from the British imperialism, you know, that's oppressing them, right? But he made a big distinction between his people and black people. When he wanted that liberation, he made sure that everyone knew that he wasn't talking about black people. He shit on them openly, and he called them every bad name, you know, that you can think of, man. They write that Gandhi's political strategies, fighting to repeal unjust laws or freedom of the movement or trade, carved out an exclusivist Indian identity that relied on him taking up Indian issues in ways that cut Indians off from Africans. While his attitudes paralleled those of whites in the early years, Gandhi, the authors write, was indifferent to the plight of the indentured and believed that state power should remain in white hands, and called black Africans kafirs, which is the word that Muslims use for us, coincidentally, which means, kafirs is like infidels. It's dogs and pigs, a derogatory term for a larger part of his stay in the country. So, here are Indian people who hate black people, right? And they're considered these amazing people, but they're still racist as fuck. Everyone has inherent biases, and everyone held to the full extent of everyone else's opinion is definitely racist. No one is exempt of any color, nation, or creed.
True.
I know tons of Latin people that don't like other Latin people. I'm not going to name all the names, but I know Asians that don't like other Asians. Matter of fact, Asians almost exclusively beef with other Asians.
Yeah, I know black people that don't like black people also.
Hell yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. There are white people that don't like other white people.
Yep.
So everyone held to the full extent of everyone else's opinion is, of course, racist. But
Right.
we shouldn't be held to everyone else's waning opinion. We should be held to a definition, and it should only matter when it affects people's lives. If we're advocating for violence, rape, murder, theft, that matters.
Let's agree.
If somebody doesn't like you, it doesn't fucking matter. If they're not hurting you or not trying to do anything to you, that's the only reason I speak against Islam or social justice or all this bullshit. I only care when they're trying to make laws that affect everyone else. That's dangerous, man. When you start thinking that another group of people is solely responsible for everything bad that happens to you.
Right.
That's what Hitler thought about the Jews.
That's fucked up.
Right? That's what Islam thinks about the Jews. That's what Islam thinks about infidels. I mean, every group that starts to slaughter people, that's how they go in thinking. But these people, everything that happens bad in our society is because of this group of people. I covered the Hmong people of Southeast Asia before you got on or whatever.
The Hmong people.
Yeah, the Hmong people.
The Mongolians?
No, they're Hmong, Hmong. They're this ethnic group in Southeast Asia, and they have been like summarily oppressed for a long time now, almost in every country they're in. They have their own religion, they have their own writing, which it was made illegal, and then they're all called stupid.
Really?
And made fun of all the time. So yeah, they're not allowed to learn anything in their language, and then they're called dumb. Isn't that exactly what they did to the slaves in America, supposedly? Right? Like they didn't allow them to read, and then they said, look, they're subhuman. They don't even know how to read. Well, of course they don't know how to read when you don't let them read. Of course they're dumb when they've never had the opportunity to learn, yo.
Right.
I mean, fucking stupid, man. This type of, ideas aren't new, man. This shit has been recycled and rehashed so many times, and it's really unfortunate. This is my argument against all this bullshit. I'm gonna move on. All right.
It's cool that we're actually going topic by topic.
Yeah.
I like these examples.
All right. Here's my people, right? I'm Scottish. Probably look at me and tell, right? I'm obviously not born in Scotland, but I'm Scottish.
Right.
I think I come from a long line of Scots and Vikings,
Right.
And my people were slaves a lot longer than black people were. Black people talk about 400 years of slavery. My people, it's 1,000.
Damn.
1,000. And it stopped at the same time. I have examples lined up here to show you how we were slaves at the same time as black people. And so when slavery stopped, it stopped my people from being slaves too. Yet I'm called a racist in one of the, like, you know, only 4% of Americans at the height of slavery owned slaves. 44% of the people that owned slaves at the height of slavery were Jewish.
And didn't you have to be like super rich to have a fucking slave?
Yes, there was something like 1 or 2% of slave owners were black. And a huge portion of the slave traders, the people that captured and sold them to other countries, were black, and usually Muslim. But I will have everyone know that America, as racist as we are, we're the most racist country in the world, even though we're the most diverse, we're the most accepting. We're also one of the most peaceful countries in the world. We're more peaceful now than we've ever been in history, ever. We're
more
safer
accepting
now.
too.
We're safer now than we've ever been. And our people fought and died, and we're the only ones that ever did, as far as we know in written history, that have ever fought to end slavery. We're so racist that we had the bloodiest war in American history to stop slavery, but we're so fucking racist.
People
Why don't
forget
we
about that shit?
If we get punished for what 4% of the population did at that time, how come we're not being rewarded and patted on the back for what a huge portion of the population did to free everyone who were slaves?
True.
Doesn't make any fucking sense. It's because they have a narrative, and the narrative means that you can only show examples of bad things that white people have done. That's the narrative. It all comes down to Marxism, because if there's no battle in America, then you have no. If you have nothing to battle, then you have no Marxism, no chance for Marxism to get in, because that's what they try to do. You know,
Marxism.
Yeah, I don't want to get off all into that, but
okay,
maybe that's a topic for another time. I wanted to read one little portion here. Let me see. Okay. There were hundreds of thousands of Scots sold into slavery during colonial America. You know, America.
Mm-hmm.
White slavery to the American colonies occurred as early as 1630 in Scotland.
1630.
And even before that, we were slaves in our own land.
You guys were enslaved by your own people?
No, by the Irish and English.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm sure you've heard of William Wallace, Braveheart.
Yes.
That was like in 1500s. That was 100 years before we're talking about right here.
Oh, okay.
So you can still see that we were shit upon then. We were called serfs, which were basically slaves, indentured servants. The lords who ruled over us on the night of your wedding were allowed to fuck your wife, dog. And they could do anything they want. And you were forced on your own land to work your whole life away to provide for them. You're a slave. According to the Edgerton Manuscript, British Museum, the enactment of 1652, it may be lawful for 2 or more justices of peace within any country, city or town, corporate belonging to the Commonwealth, to from time to time by warrant cause to be apprehended, seized on and detained all and every person or persons that shall be found begging and vagrant in any town, parish, or place, to be conveyed into the port of London, or unto any other port from where such person or persons may be shipped into a foreign colony or plantation. They're just basically giving the right.
Those motherfuckers off.
Giving the right to just snatch up whoever the fuck they want. Yeah, it says on here, if they're found to be begging, or what's the other word that they used? that shall be found begging and vagrant. Yeah, but like, what if they got dirty clothes? You'd say, oh, vagrant. I mean, they could have a full. I mean,
for any little thing.
Yeah, trust me, they're not checking the reasons, right? I mean, come on.
Hell no.
Do you think they're giving the slave a chance to speak for himself? Hey, were you a vagrant? Of course he can be like, hell no, I wasn't. I had a fucking family, I got a home. They didn't give a fuck, just like for any other slave.
An immigrant that's not supposed to be here is here illegally. He's gonna say he's legal. If a fucking La Migra comes and asks them.
Yeah, but they're talking about literally going to their country and just getting them and then bringing them to any port or where they can be sold or brought to any slave colony, right?
Right.
So it's just instruction as how to gather up these Scottish people, my people. Yeah. Hey, yeah, they're white, or I guess if you want to call us that, because some of the other shit I'm going to show you shows how we have historically not been considered white, my people. Strangely enough.
You guys weren't considered white?
No. Only until recently, actually. We all of a sudden we are considered white and we're racist and all this, even though we were part of all of that. In America, the blacks endured 250 years of slavery. 250. My people got 1,000, dog. 4 times that amount. You think that mattered to anyone when they called me racist? For nothing? Even those like Thomas Jefferson, who wished them well, that they were a subhuman species. In Ireland, the Irish endured an even longer ordeal of English oppression. And the Scottish were subject to even the Irish. So the English rule over the Irish, and the Irish rule over the Scottish. So we were like slaves of slaves.
That's even pettier.
Exploitation and ridicule that left them in a defeated, demoralized people. The ultimate blow to their self-respect was the Great Famine of 1847-1851, which saw 1.5 million wretched men, women, and children starve to death in the fields and ditches, while the English feasted on tons of wheat and meat exported from English-owned Irish farms. See, they starved us by the millions.
That's so sad.
So they could live like fucking kings, dog. Not only did we raise all that crops and do all that shit. I say we, I mean Scottish people. I don't mean me.
Right, your people.
Like I lived then. I'm trying to say how ridiculous they are for including slavery into nowadays times. I am not also trying to do that. I'm just pointing out examples that if everyone wanted to be a crybaby like them, we have more ammo than they do. More. At least I do. Yes, I might be the exception, but I'm not the only Scottish, Irish, or person in the fucking world.
Right.
Like I said the other day, the word slave is from a term Slav. They were white people in Europe. The whole word slave is based on white people. So this idea that only other races, most races were divided, or most peoples were divided into their political, social, and economic groups, not their race. And that is current even today. We wouldn't have Jay-Z and Michael Jordan.
Right, we wouldn't have no.
There wouldn't be any black, brown, Asian, rich people if that was the way it was.
Right.
We still to this day only divide by political and socioeconomic means. Like, if you're rich, it don't matter what color you are, because people don't give a fuck about the color of your skin. They only give a fuck about the color of money. For reals?
Right.
And it was the same in Greece, and it was the same in Rome. It doesn't matter what period you go to. It's always been like that. Money speaks louder than colors do.
Hell yeah. I can't even think of like all my role models for like when it comes to sports and music and stuff like that.
They're all black.
Yeah.
At least for me.
And for
I
me,
grew up
too.
watching Yo MTV raps and everyone I fucking look up to. Baseball, football, basketball. One of my favorite baseball players when I was growing up was Ken Griffey Jr., black dude. You know, my favorite, mixed martial artists are black. Oh, I got one white one. I like George St. Pierre. He's French. That counts as white, though, right? We're all the same. It makes no sense to me. You know, my other two favorite fighters, one is Brazilian. God, I'm drawing blank right now. Machida, Lyoto Machida. And I really like Tyrone Woodley, and I really like John Jones.
John Jones, fucking amazing.
And not to mention my boy Anderson Silva.
Silva's dope too.
And all of them are black. All my favorite rappers, except I like Eminem. He's white, I guess, right?
Right.
But it's just ridiculous, this thought of America's never been great for anyone that isn't white. It hasn't even been great for white people. Even if it's only been good for rich people. Let's be honest.
Right, that's it.
Another 1.5 million Irish fled to America. In a country that was largely Protestant, the Roman Catholic religion made these penniless refugees as welcome as a recurrence of the bubonic plague. A stunning 1,107,000 staggered ashore in New York alone during these 4 terrible years. On the Lower East Side, one eyewitness described them jammed into the oldest and most rickety wooden buildings, soon called tenants. There were no toilets or running water, which often housed as many as 250 people. They were shit upon, man. They were shit upon. And back then, we were called white Negroes. We were called niggers. It's no different. I have right here an article that talks about that. Second. Right here. Like I said, we were slaves at the same time as black people were.
Right.
We were cheaper.
Right, because you were slaves. You were the slaves, right? Basically.
Right. And I heard a story, and they said there was a guy during the days of slavery observing people loading a train car full of giant bales of hay, and there were black slaves on top dropping like large bundles of hay, which weigh over 100 pounds, onto people inside of the car who were catching these bales of hay. The people inside the car were Scottish, Irish, and stuff.
Damn.
The people up top were black, and the person observed, and he goes, "Why do you have we were called what the fuck were we called? I forget one of the derogatory terms. And he says, well, because the black ones cost more for slaves, so they don't care if it breaks the backs. If they're going to risk breaking someone's back, it's not going to be the black ones because they cost more."
Damn. That's fucked.
Yeah. So, this idea is just fucking ridiculous. But like many immigrant groups in the United States, the Irish were characterized as racial others when they first arrived in the 19th century. In the 19th century, which means the 1800s. So you can see that not only were we not here for most of the slavery, we were busy being slaves in our own country, right?
Right.
But when we got here, we were slaves here as well. But it was after, in the 1800s, it was 60 years later when slavery ended, right? So we weren't part of that oppression. The Irish had suffered profound injustice in the UK at the hands of British, widely seen as white Negroes. The potato famine that created starvation continued to cost the lives of millions of Irish and forced the out-migration of millions of starving ones. Millions died. Millions more were slaved out. Millions.
It's fucking...
There's just as many people. It went on for a longer period of time.
See, why did I never hear about this?
We are not crying about it. We are not held down by this 200 years later.
We didn't learn about this in school.
Of course not. It doesn't go with the narrative, right? Once in the U.S., The Irish were to negative stereotyping that was very similar to that of enslaved Africans and African Americans. The comic Irishman, happy, lazy, stupid, with a gift for music and dance. Yeah, man, that's why I like that, music and dance. I got it in me. Was a stock character in American theater. Drunkenness and criminality were major themes in Irish stereotypes. That's it, patties. We were called patties. And the term paddy wagon, which is referred to as like the thing that cops use to go arrest a whole bunch of people, they throw them in the paddy wagon and take them to jail, was made for us white Negroes.
Really?
Yeah, it was called a paddy wagon based on us white Negroes, not black Negroes, right?
Right, and I hate that people get mad because they say Negro and they automatically think a black person, when the vernacular is just an ignorant person. That's what the definition was when I read it. It means an ignorant person or a dumb, founded person.
My people weren't exempt from any bad treatment. We were fucking shit on too. It's just that 200 years later, I feel like we got it pretty good here. I was one of the white Negroes, but I feel like we're doing pretty good. I rock pretty nice clothes. I live in a pretty nice place. Nothing special, but I'm happy.
Right.
I'm not saying that anyone is oppressing me and keeping me down. If I work towards whatever, I feel like I could probably do it. If as long as there's no physical thing keeping me back.
Right.
Just like everyone else has the opportunity to do. This idea that other people are holding us down, we just can't see them or hear them or point to them or give an example.
Right.
No, that's just you then, dog.
The most simple things you need to bring up, you don't.
Yeah, that's just you then at that point, right? Like,
right.
I mean, come on, man. For real, dog. I think I pretty much covered that one. I'm gonna move on. I'm not sure what exactly this is. Okay, here we go. A famous history professor stated that history was not a science. Let me grab a drink real quick. But a continuing investigation into the past. A person's conclusion is based on their own bias. This story will offer evidence that the Alba, Scots Irish, and Picts have been the longest race held in slavery.
Damn.
See that? My fucking shit is in there. The longest race held in slavery.
I think, you know how we encourage not to say, like, our people when you get emotional about what happened to you, you know, back then. I almost feel like you have to in a way, because it's just like, if they're accusing themselves, like, if they're not accusing, maybe that's the wrong word. If they're saying
they're these victims,
right,
and we're great oppressors, how can I not instantly go like, fuck you, bitch?
Right, like here's the real evidence.
If you want to do the dick measuring contest of oppression, my people blow your fucking people away.
True. Dick measure.
My people have been through more than your people in like 4 times the amount, yo. 4 times the history. Just my fucking people. White people, way more than that. Way more. Yes, black people were held slaves for 250 fucking years. Slaves by Muslim black people to this day, not by white people. They ain't complaining about that. They're complaining about what happened 200 years ago and for 250 years. But, you know, my people alone 1,000 years. White people, thousands, tens of thousands of years. We're not crying about that tens of thousands of years. We're making the best of what we have now. We're happy we're not slaves now.
Makes sense.
God damn. I'm going to move on. I don't know what more I could say about this. I mean, I think I've said it, you know?
Right.
It's just really unbelievable that people are so blinded by today that I have to show this, because no one else seems to fucking care. No one else seems to show it. People are allowed to just accuse other people of racism with no example. But, you know, yet I come up with examples constantly. Okay, I was called white boy on the constant.
Right.
Is that okay? I'm
No.
not saying I was all butthurt about it. I'm just saying that if it's not okay to call black people niggers, it's not okay to call white people crackers, honkies, white boy. I'm saying that it has to be all or nothing. You're not allowed to be a perpetual victim while being the perpetual assaulter and perpetuator of racism.
Right. That's what Muslims do.
Right. That's what feminists do. And in modern culture, that's what a lot of black people do too. Perpetual victims while simultaneously being the only people that are being violent, the only people that are being privileged, the only ones demanding special treatment. You know, I'm not demanding special treatment for the 1,000 years that my people were slaves.
Right.
Give me free shit. Some rich guy
Give me
owes
free
me.
shit.
Some rich guy owes me everything. No, he doesn't. He didn't do anything. I was not a slave. The black guy was not a fucking slave. Yes, it was a short period of time ago when they were, but it was a short period of time ago when we were.
Right.
The same amount of time. When slavery was abolished here in America, it freed my people as well. It's not fair to then just take my people and lump them over into the thing. Yes, it infuriates me because it's like, how can I not instantly have to go into this bullshit over and over whenever they bring this shit up? I don't want to. I'm forced to. I'm forced to talk about this shit because they're trying to make laws. They're trying to take away stuff from people. They're trying to do things that oppress people. And they're using this bullshit as excuses. What's that?
I feel like they involved you now. Now it's about when it comes to laws. Now they're fucking with your life.
Exactly. All of our lives. And it's like, damn it, if you're going to be trying to make laws, but you can provide no examples of anything, come on, yo. I got to speak up then. That's one of the main things. You know, these dumbass ideas is one of the main things that make me want to speak up to begin with. In modern day, I'm going to move on to the next point here. In modern day South Africa, the British went to South Africa a couple hundred years ago. I told you about Gandhi. That's the same thing, the British occupation. You know, the British were big imperialists. The reason that we started out as a colony and then 300 years later, we're fighting for our independence in the Revolutionary War, and we're fighting from our independence from who? The British, the British came over here as a colony, and then they wanted to, you know, continue to control America, and we fought a revolutionary war against them to free ourselves from British occupation. That's what no taxation without representation is, because they wanted to tax all of Americans, take the money to Britain, but not provide any security, not provide any roads or anything.
Right, just pay them.
Yeah, well, we were like, fuck you. You ain't gonna fucking do nothing for us. You don't get to fucking tax us, yo.
Right.
Fuck that. Well, you know, well, not really, but Gandhi had issues there too, but he wasn't trying to fight for because he said he didn't want it out of white British hands, and he wanted black people to still be the slaves. But black South Africans are far more violent and racist towards their white compatriots than vice versa. The F.W. de Klerk Foundation claimed on Friday. To help address the situation, the foundation, established by its namesake, who won a Nobel Peace Prize along Nelson Mandela, said it appealed to the South African Human Rights Commission to intervene on the issue of racism and hate speech against white South Africans. Its complaint to the commission detailed 45 social media postings that incite extreme violence against white South Africans. The foundation added, an analysis of Facebook and Twitter messages show that by far the most virulent and dangerous racism expressed in the most extreme and violent language has come from dissatisfied black South Africans. The messages are replete with threats to kill all whites, including children, to rape white women, or to expel all whites from South Africa. It said these hurtful racist remarks were posted online after racist remarks made by Penny Sparrow regarding black South Africans at beaches on New Year's Day. So, in South Africa currently, they hate white people. Yeah, there's probably a history and a reason, but I'm trying to show they're clearly racist as fuck. They're clearly calling for violence, rape, genocide, deportation of every single one of them. This is the same thing that like the KKK says about black people or Jews, and everyone calls them racist, and everyone unanimously agrees that they're pieces of shit. Well, every white person who lives in South Africa now is just a descendant of these imperialist British. They aren't them themselves, right? They're in the same position of being accused of being slavers and shit, like how I was when I had nothing to do with it. Not only that, but I was one of, my people were technically one of the, at least their people technically weren't part of the thing. So they actually have more of a gripe against them that stands, if you ask me. But still, they're talking about what happened generations ago, and they're being completely genocidal, completely racist against them. And it's just okay. It's okay when it's white people. So, there's an example of, even in Africa, they completely hate white people. Completely.
There you go with another example.
And it's okay. Perfectly fine to
No
call
one gives
for
a
the
fuck.
murder of white people. It's okay because, we don't count.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and here's another example of that same topic. Since Nelson Mandela and the Communist African National Congress took over South Africa, more than 70,000 whites have been murdered and untold numbers have been robbed, raped, and tortured. But you will not hear about this in the Western media, which fawns over the black terrorists. And that's the problem.
Oh, what the hell? Bro, my dog just pissed. I gotta clean it up.
All right.
Sorry.
No problem. So there's the problem. Western media has a narrative, and their narrative is that all white people are racist and responsible for all the world's problems, regardless if they're actually not, or if they were ground up by the world as well. I might be the exception. I'm not sure because I'm not everyone. But I do know that if you follow my history back of my family, shit wasn't lovely. It's just as bad for any in my family as anyone else. We were slaves. No one is exempt from terrible things in history having been done upon them and their families. No one is exempt from that. And the very last thing I wanted to touch on was this article here, and they make a good point, and I'll read it and then I'll talk about it. Here's some good news for all you black folks complaining about racism in America. You don't know how good you have it. At least that's the message I heard during one of the strangest conversations I've ever had about race. I was talking about the concept of white privilege, the belief that being white comes with unearned advantages and everyday perks that its recipients are often unaware of. I asked a white retiree if he believed in the existence of white privilege. He said no, but there was another type of privilege he wanted to talk about, black privilege. Confused by his answer, I asked him to give me an example of a perk that I enjoyed as a black man that he couldn't. His answer was Black History Month. In America, you can't even talk about whiteness. If you try to embrace being white, you're portrayed as being a racist. If we had a White History Month, that would be being viewed as a racist holiday. In my school, they always said, oh, but White History Month is all the other 11 months. But it's not. We're learning about world history. I don't remember learning about white history. We didn't learn about Napoleon. He was white. He's from France. We didn't learn about the Tsars of Russia. They're white from Russia. We didn't really even learn about Hitler. He's white from Germany. All these white people, all diverse, but we're all this one contiguous group. But we didn't learn about all of them. We didn't learn about white history. We learned about only things that were pertinent to the shit we were studying. And none of it had to do with whiteness. I remember learning about world history, Egypt, Mesopotamia. I remember learning about biblical history, the Jews and the 12 tribes of Israel and all this kind of thing. These people historically aren't considered white. So this idea that every other month is white history is complete bullshit. We didn't learn about anything about the Civil War. They told us about Abraham Lincoln. They skipped through. But that's not white history. That's one fucking guy. We also learned about Carver. You know, the black dude who invented a whole bunch of uses for peanuts. I believe he was a botanist. He's not white. And it wasn't during Black History Month. We are all privileged to live in this country. I've always been one to think about the apocalypse. What would I do in the apocalypse? And recently I heard an argument that I cannot deny, that we're all waiting for the apocalypse and we all think the apocalypse is going to happen, but the apocalypse is always here on Earth. It's just not right here in America. Go to certain parts of Detroit, you'll think the apocalypse is here. Go to certain parts of Africa, you'll think the apocalypse is here. If you live in Venezuela right now, and you can't buy any food and atrocities are happening by the minute, you would probably think the apocalypse is here. What's the difference? Your people are being slaughtered ground up by the world. That is the apocalypse. We are all privileged to live in a country where we even have the freedom to express ourselves. Here I am expressing myself for over an hour. I have the freedom to do so. And I am so fucking thankful for that freedom. And I am so fucking thankful for everyone that gives a shit about what I have to say. For everyone that hears these words and cares and understands that we all have our issues. Every one of us has people that hate us. Who cares what the reasons? As long as they aren't doing violence upon us or calling for violence upon us, fuck them motherfuckers. They can't do shit about it. Fuck them. Real racism and real oppression looks like slavery, looks like rape, looks like genocide, looks like murder, looks like torture. If what you're seeing doesn't look like that, then you're hyping up shit into something else. And you're running with something before you even know what the fucking message is. I bring up this so that, just like my title is, racism, a few facts to consider. The next time you feel shit upon, just realize that everyone feels like that. No one is exempt. Everyone is shit upon. Everyone has had racist, sexist things done to them. No one is exempt. The definition of racism, how I started, is how I want to end this. A belief or doctrine that inherent differences among the various human races, racial groups determine cultural or individual achievement, usually involving the idea that one's own race is superior and has the right to dominate others of that particular racial group is inferior to the others. I've shown you example after example of how black people think that they're superior to other races. The co-founders of Black Lives Matter say that they're superior because they have melanin and white people do not. And they call for the murder of all white people. Muslims call for the murder of everyone who doesn't agree with them, especially the Jews. The Japanese, Southeast Asians, Latin Americans, Indians, Europeans. No country, no peoples are exempt from thinking at one time or another that they are better and other people are inferior to them and doing atrocities.
Hey, brother.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
So he's shit too. So I gotta shampoo this shit. I'm gonna hop off so I don't.
It's all good, dog. I'm just about to shut it down. I'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, peace.
All right, peace. No one is exempt. Everyone has problems. In this world, there aren't enough good people for us to care about what color they are when they arrive on our doorstep. Cherish good people. Be thankful that you have good people in your life, because most people do not. They go through their whole lives and don't know anyone but fucking turds, dog. Be thankful if you have anyone good in your life. And you shouldn't care what sex, what color, what nation, what creed, what religion they're from. Just be thankful that they love you and that they care about you. That's all we can hope for in this world. So next time you feel shit upon, maybe consider that everyone feels shit upon. And it doesn't matter what color you are. That's what I wanted to say. I think I've made my case. I'm always willing to hear other ideas. Till next time, I'm Socrates. Peace. That's how we do.